Welcome to the June 22nd, 2021 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We are glad you're with us, and we will begin as we always do with an invocation. So would you please stand with me? Dear Heavenly Father, please watch over the proceedings of this court as we work for the betterment and good of the people of this community. Please watch over our first responders and healthcare workers that continue to deal with the global pandemic. Please watch over our men and women in uniform, both here in our nation and abroad, as they work to defend us and keep us safe. We say all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Manager Southard?
Here.
Manager Moran?
Here.
Manager Putman?
Here.
Manager McCollum?
Here.
Manager Berry? Here.
Thank you and welcome. And you have in your packets the minutes of the June 8th, 2021 Fiscal Court meeting. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other clarifications, additions, or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have a fairly busy agenda today, lots going on, and we're going to start with our friend Blake Edge from the Green River Area Development District, who briefed several judges and other county representatives on the offer from the CDBG program to make available to counties approximately $200,000 each, which could be used to help people who are in arrearage with their utility bills. And after going through that briefing, raised a lot of questions and a lot of concerns about the degree to which the reporting would actually hamper the ability to get this money out to people. And I hope I'm not characterizing that incorrectly,
No, sir.
Blake. But I asked Blake to come here today and try to explain to you some of the nuts and bolts of this program, and then have a talk about whether we actually want to do it the way the federal government is going to require us to do it. So Blake, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Judge. So this program was brought about back in January. We started discussing it with the Department of Local Government. As part of that, it was a fund for utility assistance directly to the utilities through a nonprofit who would administer the front end. People would come in. In our case, we agreed that Audubon Area Community Services would administer that part of it. People would come in, apply, and then anybody who was in arrearage as a direct impact of COVID. So they had to certify that their funds, their income, they were unable to pay their utility bills as a direct result of COVID. Fast forward to now, it's taken we kept expecting some items that are normally required through HUD and CDBG program to be foregone, but they were not. And so it is a wealth of requirements attached to this money, and much of our utility arrearages have gone. For example, in the city and county total, when we first filed this application in February, their arrearage totals were 1.7 million. Now, the current total for the entire county and city is around 1 million, and the county only is around 299,000. So that includes Henderson County Water, a few Henderson Water, Kentucky Utilities, Kenergy, and the City of Henderson and Atmos all together.
And those are total arrearages. We don't know how much of that is actually due to COVID.
Correct. So when somebody comes into Audubon to apply, they have to certify that they were impacted and list out on their application, why they were impacted by COVID to be eligible for these funds. So that is a total arrearage for each utility. And so we have no way of knowing, how much of that will even be COVID impacted. And then the end of last week, the Kentucky Healthy at Home, through the Kentucky Housing, released a new set of funding guidelines and funds available that will allow utilities to produce a batch, or a bulk batch of their total arrearages and submit them for reimbursement. It is only for renters, but that is another round of funding, that it will take care of a large portion of these arrearages. The other thing that we just found out yesterday is that DLG and HUD is making these utility providers certify that they will not cut off anybody if they accept this money. They will not cut off anybody for 90 days. And that is an issue because, for example, Kentucky Utilities already started their disconnections on June 14th. And so we haven't even been able to get in contact with them to see what their status is towards that, but their requirement to have every utility fill that out is going to be another hindrance and stumbling block in this process.
And yet another wrinkle is that apparently this money cannot be used to pay the reconnection fees for people who have been disconnected. And that is beginning to happen as some of the moratoriums have ended. Utilities are able to disconnect people. So the money can only be used for current customers. So if somebody was cut off, we can't even, they have to pay themselves to be reconnected before we can either, and I'm not sure if they get reconnected, we can handle their arrearage before they were disconnected. That's another question too. So there are so many variables here, so much red tape, because CDBG is historically a very reporting heavy program. As Blake said, we thought initially that we could turn this over to Audubon Area Services, let them handle the applications, the vetting, the payments, and it'd be kind of a, push that money out and they'd take care of it. And it's really not that the case at all. We would be responsible, the county, for much of the reporting with Audubon's help, but it would be our responsibility, and we would be culpable in case something went wrong or went, a little sideways. And all for, I know this sounds a little crazy, but all that in the grand scheme of things, not that much money. And with ARPA funds, we now have, if we wanted to do something much simpler to help people with utility bills, we could choose to do it. It would circumvent all these huge amount of extra steps. So,
and there's one thing, if I can add, Judge, to that reporting requirement, and this is something that DLG and HUD has not been able to confirm for us. So there are national objectives that must be met for this HUD CDBG money. The one that this fund is going to attempt to meet is 51% low to moderate income individuals. When individual comes into Audubon to apply, the income requirements are not used. It's not income contingent, it is only COVID contingent. So at the end of this process, if there is, we collect all these applications and do all the reporting, and they have not been able to clarify for us what happens if it is not 51% LMI. So there are so many unknowns that we do not know what the responsibilities are going to be at the end of this process, who is culpable, who is, responsible for repaying, et cetera. So there are many, many questions still.
and the capper, I'm sorry. We could begin this process now to do the program, and the money might not be eligible for us for use for another month, maybe at a minimum. So then we're into July and August, and again, the situations with what people owe and what the arrearages look like could change again. And at the end of that meeting we had, I was really of the opinion that we don't need to do this program. Considering the cost-benefit analysis there, it may not be worth it to us to try to do this when in the end we may not be able to utilize the money very well anyway. And it could be so convoluted it could actually penalize us. That was the prevailing attitude in the room. Have you heard similar worries from other counties?
Most, every county was going to take it before their fiscal court to discuss, much as you all are today. But that was the general consensus, were that we expected a lot of, considerations to bypass some of these normal block grant responsibilities, and those did not come to fruition throughout this process. So it is, as Judge stated, there are a ton of responsibility for block grant, and generally for much more funding than this.
Mm-hmm.
So it is it's a difficult decision, correct?
Do you have a comment?
Dealing with the federal government and their audits,
The microphone.
dealing with the federal government and their audits, it creates a monster of a problem, and probably the responsibility is going to fall back on us if anything gets screwed up. If they change the rules, I think we probably don't want to do this. We're stepping off in quicksand without knowing what the rules are, and
Yeah.
I just think that makes it very difficult for us to do.
And then we have other options. We
Yes.
have other options, if we want, much simpler options.
I'd agree with Magistrate McCullum on that, too. You know, we got this grant that you really can't get your hands around. I think it's really ironic that we got people that's being disconnected right here in town. You know, I've had calls personally. And if I think I'm following the rule, for me to get reconnected, I got to pay the rearage before I can even reconnect. So it's worthless. So I agree with you, Magistrate McCollum. You too, Judge.
In those
I don't think we
circumstances,
need
it
to
is
mess
kind of a catch-22. They can't get reconnected unless they pay the rearage. They need our help to pay the rearage. We can't help them unless they get reconnected.
Yeah. It's
In addition, if these people have been receiving unemployment benefits an extra $300 a month, how do you go back and justify that you didn't use your money to pay your utilities? I mean, it's just
There's
bad money
that.
management, and we end up getting stuck because they didn't manage their money right. I just don't think that's going to work.
And the judge made reference to the ARP money, and we've talked about some plans as the way we can help address this issue in a more timely fashion.
Yeah, just easier.
So,
I mean, unless anybody has any comments or questions, Blake is always available if you want more information on this. I think we've characterized it pretty succinctly. It would be my recommendation that we decide to go a different direction here, and you know, if other counties want to try, we'd love to watch it happen. Is there some sort of deadline that we have to decide? Do you know?
They keep telling me that time is of the essence, but there are no hard,
Wow.
we submitted this application March 1st or 2nd, and, we just had our grant agreement meeting, 2 weeks ago, so it is times of the essence sometimes. But this would have been very, very helpful this time last year.
Yeah, exactly.
But it just, the flow of funds and a new program just took way too long to come to fruition.
It sounded like a good idea, poorly executed.
We're from Washington, and we're here to help you.
Yeah. So I guess, don't call us, we'll call you. And we may just have other options. And I appreciate you being here today to make sure that everybody understood, because we had mentioned this money before in court, that there was a possibility we could use it, but
And if I may, our 7 counties in the Grad region were the first to go through the grant agreement process with DLG. So I will continue to monitor their developments, and if something does change in their process due to no one wanting to be a part of it, I will let you all know and keep you updated on what is happening from their end.
excellent,
Could
thank
you
you.
give me those numbers again? How much was the grant for?
The grant was for a total of $200,000. Administration for the reporting and to Audubon comes out of that, so it would have been $184,000 available total.
Okay, and we had 1.7 million delinquent?
County has 290.
For the, currently, the entire county has 1.1 in total arrearages. Like I say, that comes from every utility in the county. The county only is at 299.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Blake.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you all.
thank you.
Shame.
Okay, I'll ask Treasurer Ryder to come up. We're going to have second reading of our 2021-22 budget.
Starting route to Claremore. You can ask Siri to report any accidents and answers you see on the way. And southeast on First Street.
Is that our engineer?
Please. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But I think he's okay now. I turned it off. Go ahead, Brenda.
This is the second reading of the fiscal year 22 budget, which has been approved by DLG, the Department of Local Government, as to form and classification. This is a balanced budget, each fund being balanced with corresponding revenue and appropriations. The total balanced budget for fiscal year 22 is $36,630,247.17. Each fund is general fund, $9,492,289. Road fund, $5,144,564. Jail fund, $9,498,533.17. LGEA, which is Local Government Economic Assistance Fund, $735,300. State Grants Fund total, $596,508. Federal grants total is $200,000. Economic Development Fund total is $60,000. Health Insurance Fund total is $2,101,000. The ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, is $8,801,513. Again, the balanced budget for fiscal year 22 is $36,630,247.17.
Any questions?
Judge, I'd move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I would like to say that I hope we will do things differently next year. Our job as the fiscal court is to investigate the needs of each office. The first 2 years I was here, we had an initial meeting where all the department heads were here and they had to explain what and why they needed, what money they needed, what they needed. I think that was a much better way of doing it than we did this year. This year, the fiscal court members were only given the new budget the day of that hearing. And it's really hard to make discussions or ask questions if you're not given anything ahead of time so that you know what's going on. I think it's better for the department heads to explain to us so they're also explaining to the taxpayers of what and why they need these increases. We had the salary increase request back in December for 18%. And under the guise that it was for the low-paid people, we can't hire new people, we can't do it. And if you look at your thing we're going to vote on today, the majority of these raises are going to the people that are making more money, making $60,000 and more. That to me, it's 7%, 9%, and 30% in certain cases. And our income is not going up that fast. So I think it's important for us to look at what our future needs are. And the big looming thing hanging over our head is the retirement program. In 2028, it goes up 12% a year. It's compounding annually on top of whatever raises we get. The general fund already is as high as 2028 from the Compass Group's report. It is going to cost us, I'm going to project at least $9 million a year just for our retirement in 2028. We are going to use up our funds. We've done a fantastic job. Brad's done a good job. We've really managed our money well, but you got to look down the road. You can't just base it on, we got this money in the bank, now let's have a party, or let's give everybody a raise. I mean, it's $3,000 and $4,000 raises all over the place, and I can't vote for this.
I would say I think it's a responsible budget. I think we are meeting the needs of department heads as they reported to us. And after a year of relatively sincere penny pinching in the face of COVID, I think it was time to make sure that we could keep good people, maintain good people, and especially in this hiring environment, make sure we hang on to our folks, and especially with other factors, including inflation, increasing cost in other ways. I think it's absolutely responsible what we did, and I want to remind all the department heads listening in the fiscal court that what we do this year has nothing to do with what we might do next year or the year after that. We are always in response to current situations and environments, and I think it's a responsible budget, and I look forward to working with all department heads to make sure we stay within it and that they keep be appraised of what the trends are out in the world and in the things that impact our budgets. So I absolutely believe in Master McCollum's concern about what could happen in the future. And there's no doubt about that. We have to watch what the pensions are going to do, make sure we can afford to do what we need to do with pensions and other costs, make sure we don't have to lay off people or reduce salaries. But I think this budget's a good budget. So any other comments?
Judge, I call for the question.
Would you call the roll, please?
Manager Southern.
Aye.
Manager Moran.
I agree, but I also agree with Charlie that we do need to, next year, need to be much more diligent about what we do.
Manager Putman.
Aye.
Manager McCollum.
Nay.
Manager Berry.
Aye.
Judge Snyder.
Aye. Next is the actual salaries. We have to do this every year and approve both the employees and their pay. Next meeting, first meeting in July, we'll be discussing pay ranges at the jail, which we've encouraged the jailer to do, and also a new pay schedule that has been developed by the sheriff's office. We're wanted to separate those two things to make sure nobody got confused about that, and to give time for the departments to talk us through that. But we'll be covering those at the next meeting, very next meeting. So, any other questions about these? The roster of employees and their pay. You get a motion to approve? Now read the resolution. I'm sorry.
A resolution relating to the Henderson County Fiscal Court, reappointing county employees for fiscal year 2021-2022. Whereas the Judge Executive is authorized to appoint, reappoint county employees with the approval of the Fiscal Court pursuant to KRS 67.7107. Whereas pursuant to KRS 64.530, the Fiscal Court wishes to fix the reasonable compensation of every county officer and employee except for those named in KRS 64.535. And whereas the statute requires that all the Fiscal Court fix the reasonable compensation of all employees, even elected officials, which are not specifically exempted. Now therefore be it resolved by the Fiscal Court, County of Henderson, Kentucky as follows. Pursuant to KRS 64.530, the reasonable compensation of all full-time, part-time, and seasonal employees of the county, other than those employees enumerated in KRS 64.535, is fixed in accordance to the attached list of said employees and their compensation, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein.
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Manager Southern.
Aye.
Manager Moran.
Aye.
Manager Putman.
Aye.
Manager McCollum.
Nay.
Manager Berry.
Aye.
And I'll vote aye for the record. Thank you. Next, we have a resolution on our relationship, our annual agreement of affiliation with Crime Stoppers, and Randall Vincent is with us. If you want to come to the podium, Mr. Vincent, he's a representative of Crime Stoppers. And just give us a briefing on how things are going and anything else you'd like to say.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Everything's going pretty good. I've passed out some exhibits to each one of the magistrates. Now, Exhibit 1 is a schedule of monthly meetings. And at the beginning of each year, I schedule our meetings for the whole year. That way, the people that's on our board can go ahead on and plan their scheduled meetings for the year. Exhibit number 2 is a list of our board members. We have, I think, 7 or 8 board members right now. We can have up to 25, but that would be quite a bit. And then exhibit number 3 is a financial report for 2020 and 2021. And then exhibit 4 is our coordinator's report, which is prepared by the coordinator from the Henderson Police Department. And you can see where on that report there's some tips that came into our phone, which is at the police department. The Henderson County Crime Stoppers is an incorporated organization. We also have a 501c employee identification exempt number. Each year, I have to file an annual report with the Secretary of State, which costs $15. Then I also have to file a 990N report with the IRS, provided we stay under $50,000. And I don't think we have to worry about going over that. The purpose of the organization is formed to promote community welfare and support all law enforcement agencies throughout the Commonwealth by assisting the Henderson Police Department, the Kentucky State Police, and the Henderson County Sheriff Department in the apprehension and convictions of criminals. And how this works is we have a telephone that is located at the Henderson Police Department, and the telephone is there for tipsters, and that's individuals that maybe see a crime that's happening or know of drug activity somewhere. What they do is call in to this hotline at the police department, and the hotline is answered during the daytime by maybe a detective. It's back in the detective session, and it's answered at that time during business hours. After business hours, there's a recorder that you can leave a message on, asking you to leave what information you have concerning criminal activities which you are calling to report. It will ask you to call back on the next business day, to get a reference number pertaining to the activity you are calling about. And then at that time, you will be given a PIN number. And after you're given the PIN number, this way we don't know who's calling, or we don't have any
Can stay
identification.
anonymous, yeah.
And everybody is kept confidential.
Yeah.
So that's the purpose of the telephone call. And once an arrest is made, if one is made, then the individual will continue to call back to see if an arrest has been made. And once it's been made, then the caller will be given a PIN number. And in order for the caller to be paid, all they have to do is take that PIN number, drive through, fill in main bank, drive-through area, and hand that piece of paper with the PIN number on it, and they will be issued their reward. And we also will have a meeting to approve what type of reward we're going to pay out. And that's pretty well it. Anyone have any questions?
It's been a great program for years. I think it's helped. It's made a difference. And Randall, whatever we can do to help publicize it. I know there used to be ads in the Gleaner all the time, and circulation has dropped, obviously, at the Gleaner. And is there any other ways we can help get that phone number out? We'd be happy to. What is that phone number, by the way? Do you know?
The phone number is 270-831-1111.
Gotcha. And anything our sheriff's office can do to help or encourage people out in the county to use that number to help report stuff to our sheriff's office, we're welcome
We
to.
would appreciate it.
Yeah. Any other questions of Randall? You'll notice in the resolution we're going to pass, they use a small fee, $1 fee on court cases to help fund their reward pool, and that's what the resolution entails every year.
That fee's been pretty low since the pandemic, the COVID-19. We've been getting about $30 or $40 a month,
I think it'll quickly build back up.
Well, let's hope so. Anything else?
Well, you got to collect the court cost. to do that, and that's not been a thing. I've been told that the Chief Justice doesn't really care about collecting the court costs because all of it goes to the general fund. So good luck with that.
Any other questions? We'll read the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Resolution authorizing county to enter into an agreement with local Crime Stoppers organization. Whereas KRS 431.597 allows for the county to enter into an agreement of affiliation with local Crime Stoppers organization, and whereas Henderson County Fiscal Court feels that it is in the best interest of the county to enter into such agreement in order to allow a $1 fee to be collected in court costs from any person convicted of a misdemeanor or violation other than a violation of KRS Chapters 186, 187, 188, 189, or 189A, and sentenced to pay a fine for the misdemeanor or violation. Said fee would be dispersed to the local Crime Stoppers organization. Now, therefore, let it be resolved by the Fiscal Court County of Henderson as follows: that the Henderson County Fiscal Court shall enter into agreement with the local Crime Stoppers organization in order to allow a $1 fee to be collected on any court cases from any person convicted of a misdemeanor or violation other than a violation of KRS Chapters 186, 187, 188, 189, or 189A, and sentenced to pay a fine for misdemeanor or violation.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Randall. Good luck. I had a meeting of the Surface Mine Committee this morning, and I'm going to ask Mr. Hubiak to come up and offer the results of that meeting and a recommendation.
Yes, sir. Judge, Surface Mine Committee meeting met this morning upon the request of a Phase 1 bond released on 851-0053 increment. This increment is located out in the Hebbardsville area. It was the site of the old portable crusher and the explosive area along the Hall Road. Both of them have been Phase 1 bond released by the state already, and we're going to follow suit. And what that means is the bond will be reduced by 50%, and to accomplish that, we'll need the court's approval for that to be done, and then Mr. Monday can present the court with a new bond at the 50%, and we can return the old bond at the 100% of the bond amount.
Are you satisfied with the work that they've done?
Do what?
Are you satisfied with the work that they've done?
Yes. Yes, everything is good. The state's already approved it, and everything is in order.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Are there any outstanding violations on this increment?
Yes, there are some violations.
On this increment?
No.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. There looked like there were a couple questions. And Mr. Money, you're going to come up, but we're going to need to approve the suggestion you're going to make here in a moment. We're going to do this all at once.
No,
No.
no, this is all we need.
Well, I mean, in this meeting is what I'm saying. So right after you're done, Mr. Money's going to come up and describe what he needs. Is that correct?
No, this is.
Okay.
No, he has to get the new bond once you guys approve the reduction.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you said there's outstanding
No.
on this bond?
No, not on this one. Well, there are
On the
some-
permit, but not the
Yeah, there are
increment, is
some
that correct?
violations at the mine because the company had gone bankrupt, and it's being handled now by the bonding company who Mr. Monday is also representing. So they are making progress out there, but yes, there are some violations on certain permits for non-compliance of work that need to be performed. We don't have any jurisdiction on that right now.
So this bond will not affect that at all? Okay.
We won't be forgiving any of that with this
Okay.
action. Yeah. So any other questions? I think we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, in your packet is a copy of the lease agreement we've been able to finally reach with Deaconess as far as allowing our coroner's office to remain in their current location and continue the relationship we have with the hospital and keep Bruce from having to pick up and move. He also has access to a cooler that he's been using. Deaconess did want us to pay rent. It amounts to about exactly $3,088 a year and a couple pennies. This includes use of the cooler and the office space. I'm glad to be, done with it, so we know that the coroner's office can stay at home. And does anybody have any questions about the lease? It's been reviewed by Mr. Gold, I believe.
I will say that the lease is approved as to form and legality. There were some operational questions that Mr. Farmer had, and I know he's working through that with Deaconess. The important thing is just to know the terms of the lease and to make sure to follow them to the T, because it is a pretty specific lease, and that's been my counsel to Mr. Farmer, to make sure that he knows the lease well and can follow it well. But it is approved as to form and legality.
And I had a meeting with Bruce yesterday, and any concerns we might have ongoing, we'll continue to work with Deaconess to see if we can smooth those out for next year if we renew. And so I'm just happy to have it put to bed and moving on. So does anybody have any other questions about the lease?
Brad, did you want to go ahead and pay that up front per year?
I would, and thank you for reminding me about that. I would recommend, and we can put it in the claims later in the meeting, that we go ahead and make the full payment for the entire year. Again, $3,088 and some change.
If we're late, they got reason to cancel. I mean, we got all kinds.
One less thing we need to worry
Yeah.
about.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the lease, correct?
And to pay this year.
Okay,
The-
gotcha. Is that okay with the second? It's both the lease and the agreement to pay in full? Okay. Any other questions about that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it will be on the claims as part of the claim record later in the meeting. The next item is Courthouse Steps. And if any of you have walked out the front of our beautiful courthouse in the last year and a half, you've noticed we constantly have challenges with our front steps. Over the course of the time, they've been rehabbed, several instances or attempts to rehab them. Some of the efforts in previous administrations under previous maintenance directors were not done in a first-class fashion, and we are beginning to pay the price a little bit for now, both in the look and public safety aspects of using our front steps. So I had Charlie Ransom, our head of maintenance, have some contractors come out and review what those steps look like and what the possible remedies could be. Anything short of a complete tear down and rebuild is not going to solve the problem. So I'm asking for the court's permission to go ahead and put that job, a complete rehab of these front steps, out to bid, and let Mr. Ransom review those and bring us a recommendation and try to get that done this year, this upcoming fiscal year.
I'm in agreement with you. As part of the conditions, can we make sure it's in the bid that the slope has to be away from the building and you can't have any water? So it's going to, but that's what's happened in the past. There's a place and
Yeah.
that created a real problem. So
One of the challenges is that predilection for that flat surface at the top to hold water.
right, I make a motion to approve,
And that water freezes in the winter
and
and
it
makes
just
it
creates
a
all kinds of problems.
very slippery surface.
In addition to the crumbling you're seeing now, and it needs to be fixed once and for all, so.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Any other questions about that? We'll be reporting back on how the bids go. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks. We are going to go into an executive session. We do anticipate to have a vote be the result of this executive session, so please excuse us for a moment, and we will be right back. We're going to go back in the
Need to make a
conference.
Should be
motion.
under
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
KRS 61.8101C, discussions of proposed or pending litigation on behalf of the county regarding opioid litigation.
I'd make a motion under those guidelines to go into executive session.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hopefully, we'll be right back.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And is there in fact a resolution with the memorandum? I'll have the clerk read this resolution.
A resolution of the County of Henderson, Kentucky, authorizing, approving, and directing the execution of one Kentucky opioid settlement agreement in the pending litigation against contributors of opioid addiction crisis. Whereas the county is plaintiff in litigation against certain defendants who are contributors of opioids within the county, resulting in the availability of the drug and its abuse. And whereas the county has been advised by the attorneys retained to represent the county of possible settlement of claims, and whereas the county has been presented with one Kentucky opioid settlement memorandum of understanding with the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, MOU, attached here of and made a part hereof as Exhibit A. And whereas upon advice of the attorneys representing the county in the litigation, the county desires to enter into the MOU and authorizes its attorneys to proceed with finalization of settlement negotiations with defendants in accordance with the MOU. Now therefore be it resolved by the Fiscal Court of the County of Henderson, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, the Fiscal Court, as the governing body of the county, hereby authorizes and approves the execution of the one Kentucky opioid settlement memorandum of understanding with the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, MOU, attached hereof and made a part hereof as Exhibit A, and further authorizes its attorneys in the litigation to negotiate further settlement agreements with the county in accordance with the MOU. Section 2, the Fiscal Court hereby authorizes and approves or confirms authorization and approval of the MOU, substantially in the form attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference thereto as Exhibit A, and directs the Judge Executive to execute and enter into the MOU on behalf of the county. The MOU may be amended after approval of this resolution without further action of the Fiscal Court, upon approval of the Judge Executive, provided that such amendment does not conflict with this resolution, and the County Judge Executive is acting on the advice of its attorneys in the litigation. Further, the County Judge Executive is authorized and directed to enter into such settlement agreements presented to the Judge Executive in settlement of the litigation, or parts thereof, with the defendants upon the advice of its attorneys without further action of the Fiscal Court, provided such settlement is in accordance with the MOU. Section 3. If any section, paragraph, provision of this resolution shall be held to be invalid or unenforceable for any reason, the invalidity and unenforceability of such section, paragraph, or provision shall not affect any of the remaining provisions of this resolution. Section 4, this resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its adoption as provided by law.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Quick summary. As you know, a couple years ago, we agreed to be part of the nationwide opioid litigation to deal with the opioid crisis that was created in part. Lawyers for the claimants, argue that it was due to distribution companies, and this action, this memorandum, is just the next step in that, and making sure that we continue to be a part of whatever settlement is reached, and any funds that are derived from a settlement that we are able to participate in some way and get some sort of remuneration for the damages the opioid crisis did here in Henderson County. So this is just the next step in that. There is not a settlement imminent. It might take many more months, perhaps more than a year to finally reach that, but this vote was just to keep our hand in the game and to make sure that we remain a part of the overall process. So, any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, you have in your packet the animal control reports. Many of you might know that Emma Todd is going to join us. Debbie Edwards has resigned her position. Emma is representing the Humane Society in front of us today, so welcome. And I'll let you give us a briefing on whatever you'd like.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Emma.
First, I would like to tell you we did hire a new ACO officer. We just had one previously. He is currently working on his CACA training, and the other ACO officer, Kayla, is working on her NACA training. So the training is going on. Most of it has been done by video during the pandemic. So we have the total report of ACO calls for the month have been 38 for the city and 62 for the county. We've had 46 ACO dogs this month. There are 6 current court cases. We are up to our eyeballs in kittens and dogs. So we are basically full.
Can you give us a timeline on when you might be able to find a new executive director?
We just posted on Indeed, and we do have several that look really good. Kendra is going to start interviewing in the next week or so.
Kendra is Kendra Marsh, who's chairman of your board.
She's president, yes.
Kendra.
Strawn.
Kendra Strawn, I'm sorry. I said Kendra Marsh, apologize.
Wrong association.
Gotcha.
One is dead, one is alive.
Hey, Emma, when you're full like that, where's the overflow?
Just keep packing them in.
No, we can't take them because this board has agreed that we will not euthanize a dog to make room for another dog. So.
New Hope have any room? I assume y'all talk.
Yes, we do. I don't know. Right now, I have not talked to her.
It's got to be a major concern for sure.
Well, it is a major concern. And we have some litigation with Paul's that we have before Steve Gold. Yeah, Courtney Melton and Kendra talked to you about some laws going into effect that we want to get.
Yes, that's not litigation. Okay.
Oh, I'm
That's- I was
sorry.
like-
I'm sorry.
Potential
Yes.
ordinances.
Yes.
Yes, and
And
that's all
we-
been presented to the county judge.
Yeah, okay. So, and we've done lots of work on that. That wasn't just thrown out there. It's all necessary.
And we're still reviewing those and other potential changes to our county ordinances.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll be bringing those back to court, the entirety of them later this year. We're trying to tidy up our current book of ordinances, and those are part of the mix.
I'm so sorry that I said the wrong
Oh,
one.
no, it's okay. I was like, is there a lawsuit going on I don't know about? I was like, this is going to look really bad.
Any other
So-
questions of Emma? Hang in there.
I appreciate you, Emma, though. I know you fall back all to you. It seems like every time we go through one of these changes, so we appreciate what you do. Thank you very much.
I'm here.
Emma, did they change anything that you can do about feral cats in the law?
No, they did not.
Great.
The one that we have does say something about that. And the TNR is the only thing that
Trap
will
and
work.
release.
Trap and release, because the cats basically need to go back where they were. That's where they're used to living. That's where they found a food source.
After they've been spayed or neutered, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
At one point, there was a discussion about Humane Society or the Paws Group coming up with a plan for fiscal court and the city-county work group to look at as far as what it would cost to implement something like that. Have you all been able to get that formulated yet?
No, I didn't know that there was, that it was on the table.
Well, there was an initial presentation. They got feedback, said we were going to go back and talk about it, and that was actually the last I've heard of that conversation. So.
Would it help if we had someone from the Million Cat Challenge come and explain the program to you guys.
Well, I think what I'd like to see is just a finalized plan, bring us a proposal. That hasn't quite happened yet. We got some initial information in an informal meeting, but, there were talk about costs and, timelines, and we've never really heard the end result of that. So what I'd really like to see is what y'all want to happen. What are the costs going to be? What's the county responsible for? And let us kind of deliberate over that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Because I think we all get the need. We have too many cats, too many feral cats, we just relying on you for the finalized plan.
We wouldn't have that problem if people would simply spay and neuter their pets when they get them.
Good luck.
Yeah.
And feral cats are an entirely almost different category as well. So.
Well, feral cats aren't the problem necessarily in the county. I think it's in the city is where I have to deal with them.
Yeah.
And I think Charlie has the same issues I do.
We have more natural predators out in the county that kind of keep the populations down.
That takes care of a lot of that.
What a
But I
hard
like
thing
what
to
Steve.
It's true. I mean, we don't,
I like what Mr. Gold was saying, that may be an approach if we come up with something, Emma, that we could take to that city-county group to kind of come together on something that, where the county, all the costs of administering and everything and taking care of the program, we could split with the city.
Well, and animal control has been.
Exactly. We do that
traditionally,
anyway,
yeah.
but there, like I say, any costs associated with this feral cat issue.
And the mayor and the city attorney were at that
Yes.
first meeting where this came up, and that was discussed as, there was asked for a specific plan to come before the city
Okay,
county group.
so we need to come up with a plan to bring back next month.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So it's on us now.
Thank
You're
you.
the expert.
Whenever you can do it, Emma. I don't know if it's next month, but just whatever time you need to put it together. I mean, that's a pretty big task.
Well, you had the makings of a plan, I think, in the initial meeting we had, and I think you were there the group was there to get our feedback, our initial thoughts. There were still, again, a lot of unknowns about costs and, execution timelines, things about, what staffing would need to change in order to carry this out. There were a lot of questions, but if you all have a plan in your head now, with some of that extra information, I'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear it.
Okay.
So, thank you. Any other questions of Emma?
Didn't mean to overwhelm you, Emma, with all
That's
that.
all right.
but Emma's my neighbor, matter of fact.
Thank you, though, for what you all do.
Yeah.
It's tremendous.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate it.
Okay. Next, we have detention center reports, and Jailer Brady, anything you'd like to come up and brief the court about? We'll say congratulations. Jailer Brady was named the 2020 Kentucky Jailers Association Jailer of the Year. They didn't have a chance to award it last year because of COVID, couldn't get it all together, so they did it all at once at the KJA conference last week. And so congratulations. And also, one of our deputies, Billy Carter, was named the Deputy Jailer of the Year for his very timely and brave actions involving a suicide attempt with an inmate. And they surprised him. They lured him to that conference asking him to work as security, so he showed up in full uniform, and but then was surprised with the award, and I know he was very grateful, and his family's very proud, and we're very proud as a county of him, and thankful to you for everything you do, so congratulations, and display that plaque proudly. These plaques were gigantic, almost as big as Billy. Pretty impressive. Next, you have in your packets the sheriff's report. Period of review on that. I'll entertain a motion to accept those.
So move.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And Sheriff, I'd like a bit of time at the podium.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I come before you today to officially inform you of my retirement as Sheriff of Henderson County, effective midnight June 30th, 2021. It has been an honor and a pleasure to serve this Commonwealth and this community as a trooper, a chief, and a sheriff for 52 years. One of the greatest honors one can receive is the vote of its citizens. That vote is a symbol of confidence. The citizens of Henderson have honored me with their vote for 4 terms, 3 of them unopposed. I've worked with men and women of integrity, honesty, bravery, and compassion. Our civilian employees have been dedicated and a joy. There are too many people to thank, but I must thank my mother for her love and my wife Amy for always believing in me. At this point, Beth wanted me to say she had covered me so many times she made me look good, but I'm not including that. The judge executive and I have discussed my replacement, and that selection will be announced in a moment. I would never have retired before my present term ends if there was not a person of quality and ability and integrity to finish my term. To my employees and my community, I say a heartfelt thank you. I'm excited about the future, and I thank God for blessing me with the opportunity to serve. Any questions?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Oh, stay up here, Ed.
Sheriff, don't worry. I talked to him in Bowling Green several times, and his comment every day was, man, I'm worried. I don't know what I'm going to do. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Amy has a list about 2 years long for me to do, so I'll be okay.
I've been making one. You told me you wanted to.
I'll tell you that I asked Ed more than once about doing something special for him to the court, reception, especially after this meeting, and he didn't want to do any of that. I think he was afraid he'd cry in front of you all, and he didn't want that to be a lasting impression. I think the John Wayne image is something you want to preserve at least until you can't anymore. You are going to be announcing, I think, a reception you'd like to have just for friends and people who'd like to drop by later.
Right, we'll be getting something out on an event in July where we kind of want to have a community celebration. There's so many people I need to thank, and you can't get to them all. And if I start naming them, I'm going to leave out. There's hundreds of people in your lifetime you need to thank for helping you, for being there for you, for supporting you, for loving you. And you get, especially after 52 years, you get started thanking people. You leave somebody out that's really important, and it hurts their feelings. So those people know who they are, and they know how much I love them.
So when we have that information, we'll make sure to have all the county team
Amy will be putting something out on it shortly, and we're going to have a big celebration. And I'm going to be picking up aluminum cans on the Parkway starting next week. So
I think and certainly the members of the court can speak for themselves, but for me, I have admired you for a long time. I know in your heart that you've done this out of a sincere passion for helping the community and protecting the people of our community. And
all of us serve for that reason.
Yeah. And especially law enforcement, there probably aren't too many higher callings than that. So thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for being a friend to me. Thank you for your wise counsel in the short time I've been involved in the court. And I know the first couple weeks are going to be real weird. But then, like Keith said, I think you're going to find some cool stuff to do that you never had the time to before.
I hope so. I'll be looking.
And you're always a friend of the court, always welcome here. And again, I look forward to, coming and visit in a more relaxed atmosphere and just saying thanks again. So,
great.
Anybody else?
I'll tell you about the first time I remember, Ed, and I think I've told you this, in Webster County, I was maybe a sophomore or junior. He was a fairly new trooper, I guess. You were, 8 years older than me, so you hadn't been there too long. But he came over and talked to the whole school. And I can't tell you what you talked about. I remember that bright, shiny KSP uniform. And I do. I just said, I thought, man, look at that. That really looks good. And he done a good job. Good job. And that's one of the things you never forget. And I still remember that.
Thank you, Keith.
No, I just want to thank you, Sheriff. I admire you for all your years of service as the city, in the state, and the county. I just wonder, you've been a busy guy for a lot of years, and what it's going to look like going forward. You got to turn your head now. When you see that guy go by, run, you're just going to say, you have to kind of bite your lip, look the other way.
I thought about coming out at 11:45 my last night and stopping one last vehicle. And then saying to them, I would write you a ticket, but I don't have time because I'm going to retire and go back out. But
I'm on my way to get a donut.
Be
and
my
some
luck, I
coffee.
stop somebody and they beat me up. So I don't
No,
want that.
but thank you, Ed, for all you do.
Thank you.
You can always run for constable.
He wants me to drive dead bodies for the rest of my life. That's tempting. What a tempting offer.
You might have more preferable choices. You might have other choices.
It's honorable, Bruce, but no thanks.
Anything else that anybody would like to say?
You've served with distinction and honor. Well done, sir. And all the best in your next chapter.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Ed has, after some consultation, Ed has recommended to me, and I want to recommend to the court, the appointment of David Crafton as sheriff to carry out the rest of Sheriff Brady's term. This would be, he would be sworn in, if you agree, on July 2nd, 3 p.m. here in the fiscal courtroom. And I'd like to entertain a motion to allow me to appoint David Crafton as Sheriff Brady's replacement.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, and I will say as point of discussion that Ed is extremely confident in David's ability to do this job very, very well. We're fortunate to have him on our team in order to make this transition smooth, and I myself have utmost confidence in David Crafton. So, with that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sheriff Brady, congratulations once again. Sheriff Crafton, Sheriff-to-be David Crafton, we look forward to working with you, and we know how much you care about the people of this county and care about your team at the Sheriff's Office. And we invite everybody to attend on July 2nd, 3 p.m. here in the fiscal courtroom to help us celebrate the transition. Thank you. Okay, we have a pinch hitter for Bernice Abner's report. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am just here to report what the county clerk's office has turned over this for the month of May 2021. We turned over $45,467.85 in regular payments. That's our ad valorem tax, real estate tax, and deed transfer tax. Excess fees for the month of May was $88,618.02. So that's a total turned over of $134,85.87 total.
Excellent. Any questions?
Move to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And just for the record, Master McCollum had to slip out and has a family medical situation, but not an emergency, but just had to slip out on us. So thank you very much. Appreciate that. And Mr. Gold, your reports.
I've got several checks today. First is dental and life insurance, $485.34. Health insurance for $6,341. Aflac, $124.94. A flow through from the city, $458.33, for a total today of $7,409.61, and a total of the fiscal year to date, $147,631.71.
Get a motion to accept those?
Judge, I move we,
I move to accept.
second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I'm going to bring Brenda Ryder up. Got a lot of year-end odds and ends to tie up here, so she might be a little while, but you should have the transfer listing and claims in your packet and some additional claims this time of year. That's not unusual, trying to get everything put to bed before the end of the month, end of the fiscal year. So, Brenda, I'll turn it over to you.
Judge, are you prepared to discuss the Christian community outreach and then?
Yeah.
Okay, do
Yeah.
you want to do that first?
Sure.
Okay.
Had a meeting of the Finance Committee yesterday, our regular meeting, and I proposed to the committee two things I'd like to do out of the current budget, and we can afford them easily, but they weren't initially planned. So One was to provide $20,000 to the Industrial Development Authority, which has been stood up again and in the proper fashion. And they stand separate from the fiscal court. They are affiliated with us, but not under our umbrella technically. They have their own board. They have the ability to hire their own counsel, things like that. Almost all their funding, though, will come through fiscal court, depending on what their activities are. Butch Putman, Magistrate Putman, represents the court on that board. We thought, I brought to the committee the idea that we need to kind of give them an initial amount of money to start with, get bank accounts up and running, maybe decide on hiring a counsel and put them on retainer. And I thought about what they might need the next 2 years, so we don't have to revisit this again very soon. And I came up with $20,000. Again, that will get them up and going, stand them up. I think both members of the committee, both Magistrate Putman and Magistrate McCollum, were supportive. Butch, anything you want to say about that?
No, it's seed money, basically. You know, if something was to come up, we don't know of anything right now immediately needs, but it'd be nice to have some sort of fund that we could, in the event we needed to get some consulting or get an attorney, as the judge spoke to, on retainer. So,
and hopefully it will be very busy. The Industrial Development
we
Authority
hope.
will be very
We
busy.
hope.
And the other thing I wanted to bring before the committee was, you remember a month or two back, we had a presentation from Mary Dunham of the Christian Community Outreach Organization. They've done amazing work during the pandemic. They're trying to expand their services, expand their facility. And in consulting with what the city was doing to help them, especially with their the new building they're trying to put together, the city had agreed to waive their utility hookups. That was going to be their contribution to that project. The value of that it was about $6,000, and I thought it would be good for the county to match that if we agreed that helping Christian Community Outreach as they continue to deal with the impacts of the pandemic would be appropriate. And so I offered to the committee the idea of $6,000 to match what the city was doing would be maybe a nice, fair amount, a representative amount. And again, I think Magistrate Putman and Magistrate McCollum are fine with that.
yeah, we totally agree.
Yeah. So both of those items are represented in the additional claims list that was put on your desk. Anybody have any questions about that? Any thoughts? These would come out of contingency appropriations, and we have plenty of money in there. So, anybody have any thoughts about that? Any questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll let you take it from there.
The transfers are redistributing current year fiscal year appropriations within the current year budget. The only other thing, it's tying up the loose ends to the fiscal year. The only other thing that you'll see is a cash transfer is moving actual cash from the general fund contingency to the economic development fund as previously discussed, and also transferring from the grants fund to the general fund actual cash. And what this is for is COVID CARES funds for the clerk, and this is moving it from the grants fund to follow the expenses which were paid from the general fund.
So everybody get that last section there, that $11,540 was a grant that came to the clerk's office to help them deal with COVID and the way they altered the elections, and we're taking that into the general fund because the expenses were paid out of the general fund. So, any other questions on transfers?
Judge, I would move that we approve the transfers.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions of Brenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And now on to claims.
Okay. You have received your bank balances after paying claims today. The fiscal year-end appropriations are projected to finish out at approximately 85% for the general fund, 95% for the road fund, 65% for the jail fund, and an overall appropriation to finish up for the county at approximately 80%. Did you want to address the revenue, Judge, or?
Well, you mean or how it's going to look for us at the end?
Yes, sir.
Great news in the general fund. Spoke about this yesterday in Finance Committee on a budget of, I believe, let me look at it. We budgeted 13.142 as revenue in the general fund. and if you don't mind, give me 1 second. We have collected 17.679. Again, budgeted 13.1, took in 17.679. But just to make this a little bit more relevant, more apples to apples, if you subtract all the federal stimulus money we got, the CARES Act money, which was approximately 2.1 million. Let me do this. The normal collections from our normal sources have amounted to 15.56 million. So 15.56 million taken in the general fund versus 13.14 budgeted, which is a very healthy amount. And you add to that the fact that we're going to come in at 85% of expenses on the general fund side. That is how you heal a budget. That is how you deal with pension increases. That is how you offer your employees raises without worrying about whether they're going to strap your budget down too much. We are doing a great job of being conservative on our revenue estimates as well as our expense estimates, and the department heads and elected officials have done a fantastic job holding the line on expenses. So we continue to do the things necessary both to add to our rainy day fund, handle emergency expenses, which we've incurred, or have the option to do things like paying off all of our debt, which we have done.
Bonds, right.
And we have no debt on the books as of June 29th, which I think everybody should be proud of, including the jail. And this current budget that we just approved anticipates no tax increases this fall. It'll be the sixth straight budget we passed with no tax increases. And I don't foresee the need to increase taxes anytime in the future if we continue this kind of performance. So, sorry to get off on a tangent, but I'm just really pleased with the way the year's ending. Especially of all years, this year, in the heart of the pandemic, we've been able to continue to provide services and create the kind of financial position that we all want. So that was a long answer to your question.
Have several additional claims. From the general fund, $30,000 to Dorsey, Gray, Norman, and Hopgood Real Estate Escrow. This is for the airport land purchase, which was approved at the June 8th, 2021 meeting, is to come from the Air Board Maintenance Appropriation line. $4,000 to Bruce Farmer for the fiscal year 21 current coroner training incentive, and is to be paid with the 6/24/2021 payroll, and is to come from the coroner training incentive appropriation line. $3,088.96 to Methodist Hospital, Inc., DBA Deaconess Henderson Hospital, which you previously approved in this meeting for the fiscal year 22 coroner's building lease, and is to come from the coroner's body transports appropriation line. $750 to the Henderson County Fair, Inc., and this is for the rodeo sponsorship, and is to come from the fiscal court advertising appropriation line. $13,333.34 to the City of Henderson, and this is for the county's part of the ambulance service agreement for the months of May and June, and is to come from the ambulance service appropriation line. From the road fund, in the amount of $39,250 to Tom DeMar and Sons. $15,875 of this is for recycling hangar repairs, is to come from the recycling building maintenance appropriation line. The additional $23,375 is for road shop lights and installation, and is to come from the road maintenance and repairs equipment appropriation line. $987.79 to ProLift Toyota Material Handling, and this is for recycling repairs, and is to come from the recycling equipment repairs maintenance appropriation line. $4,312.60 to William Hubiak. This is for the fiscal year 21 training incentive, is to be paid with the 6/24/2021 payroll and is to come from the County Engineer Training Incentive Appropriation line. From the Jail Fund, $639.81 to PPG Architectural Finishes. This is for paint and is to come from the Building Repairs and Maintenance Appropriation line. $503.89 to Amazon Capital Services, Inc. This is for a LaserJet printer and is to come from the Data Processing Equipment Appropriation line. $1,153.02 to Dale Marketing, LP. This is for upgrades, extensions, and support of the tracker system and is to come from the Data Processing Appropriation line. $29,892.66. This is to Kelwell Foods Incorporated. This is for the June food and is to come from the Food Appropriation line. $851.40 to Office Depot. This is for supplies and is to come from the Office Supplies and Data Processing Equipment Appropriation lines. $1,705.71 to Barrett Fisher Company. This is for supplies, and with the majority of this coming from the paper products and cleaning supplies appropriation lines. From the LGEA, Local Government Economic Assistance Fund, $1,540. This is to the City of Henderson, and this is for flood mitigation and is to come from the Canoe Creek appropriation line. $600,000 as earlier approved to the Christian Community.
Correction. 6,000.
6,000,
I love them.
I'm sorry.
Don't love them that much.
$6,000 to the Christian Community Outreach, and this is for the additional appropriation that was just approved. From the Economic Development Fund, $20,000 as earlier approved to IDA Industrial Development Authority. And that is all the claims for this fiscal year.
You sure? I'm just kidding.
That need to be presented.
Now, one thing to note, on the transfers,
Yes.
on the transfer page, I want to make sure everybody understands. If you remember last year, when you have your final fiscal court meeting in the fiscal year, there's typically some days between that and the actual end of the fiscal year, and there typically are some line items that Brenda has to tidy up. We can't have a negative in any of the line items, and sometimes that happens. There's a $10 difference or a $5 difference, and we give her the permission to go ahead and pull money from wherever to make sure that all the line items are even. Again, it's a matter of cents or dollar, a couple handful of dollars. When we approve, you'll notice at the bottom of transfers, she's got a note where we're going to allow her to do the same thing again this year to make sure all is well before we send off our final report to DLG. So just be aware that when we vote yes on the transfers, we're also giving her permission to once again do that.
And we are in the middle of the final payroll also, so,
Yeah.
it's a matter of cents for the most part, or
Right.
small dollars.
That prevents us from having to come back into special session and vote on the transfer of $5 here, $2 there. Is that cool? Everybody get that? Yeah.
Right.
So I think you were going to make a motion to approve claims, and
I move that we pay the claims, Judge.
Okay.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any other questions about claims? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. It's always good to get through that. Let's see.
Thank you, Brenda.
It's always a busy time of year for Brenda, no doubt. Anything from good of the county from any of the members of our audience? No new reports from EMA? Okay. I think at the last meeting, he said we wrapped up our COVID clinic, vaccine clinic out at Extension, and that all went smoothly and got a lot of kudos for our help. And Kenny was especially singled out by many people for his help, and we appreciate that. Well over 2,000 vaccinations given. So with that, I'll turn it over to our magistrates. Magistrate Southern, anything for good of the county?
I'd just like to say we're going to miss Sheriff Brady for sure, but I think Sheriff Crafton will do a good job. I've worked with him a little bit. He seems to be easy to work with, and obviously he knows law enforcement, so I think we put it in good hands. And other than that, all's good in District 3.
Thank you, Magistrate Moran.
I agree with him. I agree with everything he said. That was so nice. And I congratulate Amy again on the 2020 Jailer of the Year and all's well in the 2nd District.
Thank you, Magistrate Putman.
Yeah, thank you, Judge. Also, congratulations to the new Sheriff, David Crafton. I know we're in good hands, no doubt in my mind. And again, I appreciate all that Ed has done over the years that he served. And Amy, congratulations to you. You know, I've always said we had the best jailer in the state of Kentucky. Just was verified. You know, it's got the seal of approval for sure. And I guess everything's good and forth, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Magistrate Berry.
Thank you, Judge. Congratulations, Amy, again. Thank you for the conference and all the help you give us down there when we were there. And David Crafton, I don't know what to say about David. I worked with him a long time, quite a while. Probably there's not a better qualified person to take that job in the state of Kentucky, as far as I'm concerned. So thank you. We're good.
Mr. Gold.
Definitely big shoes to fill. You know, Sheriff Brady is Mr. Henderson, and I've enjoyed working with him in his capacity both as chief and sheriff, and it's been excellent working with him. He is definitely great, but I think David Crafton is he's learned at the feet of the master, but he's also one of the most capable and able law enforcement administrators that I've ever dealt with in any agency, and I know he's going to be able to step in and continue the excellence of that department. I don't have any doubt in that. Want to thank Jailer Brady and Magistrate Berry for coming out and helping out at the Handy Festival. I sent out a call asking for volunteers, and they both said sign me up. And Magistrate Moran, did you come out too? Okay, for some reason you have in the past, I know. Yeah, but it truly is a community event, and I want to thank Judge Schneider. You know, he comes out and gets on the microphone and you know gets the crowd riled up. But it was a good time, and it was good for this community to kind of have a somewhat return to normal and to get get tourism dollars coming into Henderson. So I just want to thank everybody for that, and want to thank the organizers of that festival, of which Bruce is a member. It's something that really gets the community together, and it's great having a free event like that for everybody. So everything is going well in the county attorney's office. I think I mentioned to you all earlier that we have a departure that we hate to see, but Mr. Lambert and his bride are moving on to bigger and better things down in the Nashville area, and I certainly wish them the best. Going to hate losing them. He is by far the biggest expert in ditch law in the state, and has gotten really into opioid litigation law as well. So he's going to be missed, but we think we found an able and capable replacement, and we'll be coming to the court asking for the ability to go ahead and make that appointment at the next meeting. So I was worried about being able to fill those shoes, but I think we're going to be able to do it. But he's certainly going to be missed.
I did not know that. Lawson's done a good job. And
Judge, one more thing. Was you going to mention the fair, the county fair? You might tell people about that.
Go for it.
The fair. I hope I'm correct. There was a sign in my yard. I'm pretty sure it's July 2nd and 3rd. And what reminded me of this is the volunteers. They need volunteers as well for the fair. I try to help them when I can. Thank the court too for being a sponsor. We did a sponsor with it's the Chuck Wagon again with the court members and things on it. So, but they do need volunteers. Their last board meeting is going to be this Thursday at the fairgrounds at 6 o'clock. If anybody wants to volunteer, maybe can help come out then, and we'll get you in there. So, thank you. That's it.
Good deal. Looking forward to the county fair. I know that board has worked hard. They once again had to cancel like everybody else did last year, so they're looking forward to having you again. If you didn't go to Handy Fest this year, you missed a spectacle. It was something. to see huge crowds, enthusiastic crowds, everybody out ready to be around one another again and celebrate. It was fantastic. Huge compliments to the organizing committee on which Mr. Gold has served for a decade now or more. And I know Steve looks calm and collected up here. He seldom gets riled, but at the Handy Fest, because he cares so much, boy, he is a cat on a hot tin roof everywhere. He's everywhere at once, making sure everybody's comfortable and everything's going fine. And it's just amazing to watch him get so worked up. It's nice to see every once in a while. Even Superman gets mad every once in a while or gets excited. So, but again, it's just about how much you care, and I appreciate it. That's what part of what makes it so great is that organizing.
Too mad?
Yeah. No, not too.
There was an artist that let a word slip from the stage that should not have slipped at a family festival, and I registered my disapproval. It's a family festival.
Speaking of people who are calm, appear to be calm, all the time, David Crafton is a very, all business kind of guy when he's around the office and in that uniform, very quietly professional. Steve and I know him as a Lion and all the activities that go with the Lions Club, and he engages in that stuff in a way that might surprise some folks when he lets whatever hair he has left down by taking off the uniform. He's a fun guy, engaging guy, quick to take on the tough jobs that any organization needs done, loves to ride motorcycles, loves to laugh at dad jokes with me in the morning. So not only are we getting somebody with a very serious and responsible attitude towards his very important job, but also just a good guy. And I think people are going to get to know David better in this role, and look forward to folks seeing that other side of him. And I think it all helps in law enforcement, because not only do you have to be very knowledgeable and serious, but you also, getting along with people helps too, really does. And so congratulations, David. I know Sheriff Brady slipped out of the room, but I'll forever hold him up as one of the most passionate and engaging public officials we had. Everybody knows that, and that's something he did on purpose. He really got out in the community. So it's going to be a year of transition in several ways. Some good, some we'll just have to see how it works out. But I think I'm encouraged. I want to say thank you to the court. This has been a difficult fiscal year for all the reasons we all know, and we're to the end of it. And I always kind of breathe a sigh of relief when we have the last fiscal court meeting in June, because we're tying up, again, a lot of loose ends. We're setting ourselves up for next year. The debates are always interesting. The conversations are always interesting. But it's what we're here to do, and it's what we're here to talk about, and it's what we're here to execute for the citizens of the community. And when we get to the end of a good fiscal year, it's always kind of a point of pride and a big exhale, And here we go again. Starting in July 1, we start all over again, getting her done. And this court is getting it done. So thank you all very, very much. A lot of reasons to give yourself a pat on the back. So with that, thank you all for being here today. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second, and as I say all the time, all those in favor can leave.